From the studio that has won no awards whatsoever comes the podcast that should have already been canceled. Welcome to another episode of Have You Read This? A podcast for bookworms, lovers of sarcasm, and those dangerously close to overdosing on caffeine. Load up on ibuprofen, because here comes 15 minutes of your life you'll never be able to get back.
This episode is brought to you by absolutely nobody whatsoever. Because who in their right mind would sponsor this crap?
So I wrote up an article about this on the website, I think sometime last year, but I thought that it might be worthwhile to actually do a full episode about it and toss in some updates that I've experimented with since that time. Now, a lot of you don't even visit the website. And while I question your sanity and decision-making abilities, I can understand that mistakes happen, and I'm willing to forgive you. What spurred on the desire for me to write this article was my frustration with some posts in book groups that I've seen all over Facebook. Somebody would finish a book, they'd enjoy it, and naturally they'd want more that are just like it. And there are times when these people, they can't even be bothered to type out a full coherent sentence to ask what they're looking for. And I just imagine them crawling to their keyboard or their phone, reaching out with gnarled fingers with just enough energy to type books like The Road. And then, like, that's it. I hope that they're doing something worthwhile with the vast amount of time that they're saving by not typing out full sentences when they post online. And another popular post I see is, it's the one where they ask, should I DNF this book or not? And this one kind of blows my mind. You should know what you enjoy reading more than anyone else and shouldn't need the validation from thousands of strangers in order to decide what book you want to finish or not. But since this is a struggle for some people, I'm going to cover that too. So this whole thing got me thinking about AI and how it could come in handy in these kind of situations. So I did some experimenting with ChatGPT and found that it actually can be pretty useful. Now, I think the downside here is that you'll have to type a full sentence, possibly more, as a prompt. And if that's something that is beyond you or is intimidating, then you're going to need to stick with pop-up books from now on, I guess. And I also don't want to get into which AI is the best. I know that there's a lot of people that prefer other platforms like Grok or whatever. I don't even know that's how you say it. I just stuck with ChatGPT because that's just the one that I've been using, and I'm a creature of habit. So to get started, what I did was I kind of played around with just like the usual questions and things that I would see online, like give me the top 10 psychological thriller books, or give me a list of books that are similar to The Road, or whatever book that you just read that you really liked. And I think ChatGPT did pretty well with this. And for the most part, I think, yeah, it's going to spit out a list of 10 books or how many ever books that I asked for. But I think the true power of using AI for these requests, it comes from digging into the details to get more refined answers. If you wanted, you could really keep things vague by using something like, what are the best books to read that will put me in a good mood? You might get 5 books, you might get more. I don't know what the default is. You just have to start by entering prompts, and then from there, start to drill things down. So let's get more specific with some of these requests. In one of these Facebook groups, I saw frequent posts of readers looking for something that I would say is pretty specific. And one that stands out in my mind is they're looking for paranormal stories, and they wanted them set in certain parts of the world, like why a ghost story in Montana is different than one in New York. I don't know, but there's people that, hey, we've got our preferences. We're kind of a quirky bunch. So what I did was I tried out this prompt. I'm looking for thriller or horror books with a paranormal twist. I would love something set in the Midwest or Appalachia. Another prompt that I tried was give me a list of the top 10 most popular books written by Kentucky authors. And if I remember correctly, when I did that, it actually gave me a couple books. I think what it did was it ran out of books to find, and it started giving me some like, well, this one wasn't really written by a Kentucky author, but it was set in Kentucky, so this one should fit the bill for you. But I think if you're looking for something specific, like a mood or a vibe of a book without a specific genre, then you can tweak the prompt a little bit to say something like, I need a list of the saddest books ever written. I need something to crush my soul and make me cry. And yes, I actually typed those into ChatGPT. And I even tested it a little bit further to see if it would recommend that I stop reading a book or not. Like the infamous, hey, should I DNF this? Because if you've been in any of these Facebook groups, you know, because you've seen probably more than your fair share of these things. And it's something along the lines of the cover of the book. And it's like, I'm only 8 pages in. Does this get better? These people just drive me nuts. I can't stand these kind of posts. But it did make me curious about what would AI tell me if I asked it something along those lines. And so I tried to test this a little bit, and I used this prompt, and it said, I am currently reading The Groomer by John Athan, if that's how you pronounce his pen name, and I'm having a hard time. Should I DNF this or keep going? Because really, this is what people are sharing online. And I thought it was kind of cool what ChatGPT replied with, which was this.
The Groomer by John Athan is known for its intense and graphic subject matter, which can be extremely difficult to read. If you're feeling overwhelmed by the book's content, it's completely okay to put it down. Some readers find it too disturbing due to its focus on dark and troubling themes. If you're struggling emotionally or finding it too upsetting, it might be best to DNF it. If you're just grappling with the intensity but still curious about the story, you could push through, but prioritize your mental well-being. Would you like suggestions for something less intense but still gripping? Would you like for me to hold your little bitty hand while you try to read words on a page? Or better yet, would you like for me to throw a concrete block into your face because you are incapable of deciding whether or not to finish a book on your own like a grown-up? I mean, seriously, I bet you're the type of person who stands up as soon as the plane lands, aren't you? I bet you leave your shopping cart right next to your car instead of returning it. You probably also have really loud speakerphone conversations in the grocery store, too. You human piece of garbage.
So for that specific case, I don't think the answer was extremely helpful, if I'm being honest. Like, well, the last part was, but, I kind of made that up. But then again, more times than not, I see a total mix of answers on Facebook when asking this question in the first place. Some people are going to say they liked it. Some people are going to say they hated it. Some will say they couldn't finish it either, which means you have to put on your adult pants, make your own decision, and not rely on social media to dictate finishing a book or not. Just kind of ironic that we're doing this. I'm telling you not to rely on social media, but instead rely on AI. I guess it comes down to when you're asking AI, you're not annoying 1,000 people with your dumb requests. So as I continued down the rabbit hole of asking ChatGPT questions, one thing I realized was that it was giving me just what I asked for. And you're like, great, you really had to say that? Like, that shouldn't be a shock. I'm just saying that because if you want more details, you need to be specific with your prompts. Don't expect this thing to read your mind or to start offering a bunch of other information that you haven't asked it for. So instead of asking just for a list of horror books similar to something else you've read, you could ask it to provide a list of 10 or 20 similar books. And then you can also ask it to order the list according to average ratings on Goodreads, or you could do average ratings on Amazon. You could also tell it, I only want 4-star ratings and above. It's really your preference. Now, and if you're somebody who has read quite a few books, I think what you may run into is some of the answers that ChatGPT is going to give. It's going to include books that you might have already read by now. So what I did was I tested this out by going over to my Goodreads account. And what I did was I copied the link from the books that I've read and I entered that into Chat GPT with the prompt. So I would ask it for a list of the top 10 horror books. I would ask it to rank them by average Goodreads ratings. I would also tell it when it's making this list, don't include any of the books that are in this link. And I'm just guessing here because I haven't taken the time to test this one out, but I could also use my TBR list as well. So if I'm looking for something specific that I haven't already set as something that I want to read, I could put that in here as well. But one of the dangers for me is that my TBR list has just become a monster of some unimaginable number. It's overwhelming. There's been stuff that I've put on there that surprises me. I don't know what I was thinking when I put some of those things on there, and so I forgot. It's been so long. But if you're looking for new things, this is just another way to kind of filter all of that down. The important thing here is that we all continue to grow that TBR list to ensure it will never be something that we could ever finish in at least 4 lifetimes. To keep drilling down and get more specific with the information, I took this one step further and I asked for links of where I could buy these books. I know that there's a lot of people out there who are not fans of Amazon and they try to purchase only from local bookstores or other online retailers. That's totally cool. You need to buy these things with wherever you feel is right for you. And if you have a local bookstore, definitely try them first. However, if you're looking to buy a book online and you want to avoid Amazon, you could ask for links to sites like bookshop.org. So what I did was I tried a prompt that said, create a list of the 20 most banned books by schools during the year 2024. Order them by the number of bans, include the average Goodreads rating, and a link to where I can buy the book from bookshop.org. And I was really surprised by this list. I thought the result was great. I got 20 books and they were so perfectly laid out in a table. It was all nice and organized just the way that I would want it. And if you don't want to copy and paste a table to use elsewhere, then just, again, ask the AI to reformat it. In this case, I told it, great, recreate this list, except make it an email-friendly format. And I think you get the idea. So you can start with very generic prompts. And then once you see some of the answers, then you can start tailoring it down to things that you're looking for. Maybe it's only female authors. Maybe it's only minority authors. Maybe it's only authors from the Midwest or novels that have been turned into movies. There's really kind of an endless array of prompts that you can give these things to create the lists that you're wanting to create. And since nobody asked, I'm going to tell you anyway. I recently finished The Killer's Shadow, the FBI's Hunt for a White Supremacist Serial Killer, written by John Douglas. If you're a true crime fanatic, I think you'd probably like this one. He talks a lot about some of his other cases, a lot of those you might have seen featured in Mindhunter and some of his other books. And I'm currently in the middle of reading 19 Minutes by Jodi Picoult. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I mean, it's not like I didn't look it up on YouTube for 5 or 10 minutes to figure it out and probably still butchered it. But I'm also listening to Beyond the Call of Duty, The Life of Colonel Robert Howard, America's Most Decorated Green Beret, and that was written by Stephen Moore. And just a note really quick, like the 19 Minutes book, that showed up on the list of most banned book by schools in the year 2024. I think that was the top of the list. So if you want to get me to read a book, just say that it's been banned by just about everybody. And that will mean I'll have to go read that. I have no idea what's on deck after all of this. Maybe I'll take some time and grab something off the shelf that I actually have here at home. Or maybe I will read one of the many books that I have loaded on my Kindle. Maybe I will pass out in the middle of the kitchen after overdosing on Reese's Cups. There just really isn't a way to tell for sure at the moment. And if you've made it this far, That's a wrap on this chapter of Have You Read This? Keep turning pages and we'll read you later. That was so cringe. And I got that from AI and I asked for a clever way to finish a podcast episode. And what I got was something that makes me want to shove an ice pick into my ear. Sometimes AI is great. Other times it totally sucks. That was terrible. I hate it here. Until next time.
I hope the Xanax lasted you through all of that nonsense. Since you are still here, it would give my undies a tingle if you drop a 5-star review. Follow Have You Read This podcast on Instagram, or I will beat you to death with my walker. Now get me out of here and get me my back pills.